This is what we do at Bundle. We give the information so that everyone can make their most informed decision and put their fertility dollars where they know they need to go.
This episode was brought to you by Bundle. To learn more about the Bundle with Medications program and how they can optimize treatments for your practice and patients, please visit www.bundlefertility.com/medications-cost. That's BUNDL fertility.com/medications-cost. Today's episode is paid content from our feature sponsor, who helps Inside Reproductive Health to deliver information for free to you. Here, the advertiser has editorial control. Feature sponsorship is not an endorsement and does not necessarily reflect the views of Inside Reproductive Health.
Assurance and certainty for stressed and anxious fertility patients. Relief for burnt-out IVF center staff. Achieved by means of finally accounting for medication costs with IVF treatment costs. A pain point that I've heard about for a long time. So far, I haven't really seen a solution for. Perhaps until now, because this is the topic of today's featured sponsor episode. Cheryl Campbell from Bundle is back. You remember her. She's the Director of Operations at Bundle. Bundle is the financial program that packages multiple treatment cycles together at a reduced upfront cost. And you may have heard her because she's been on the show before. This time, Cheryl brings on her colleague, Karol Bonilla. Carol's the Strategic Account Manager of InspireRx. InspireRx is the pharmacy services program that utilizes preferred network pharmacies to give patients discounts on fertility meds, to speed up delivery, and to personalize their med service. Wait, so is this a Bundle show or is this an InspireRx show? It's a Bundle show, and one of the key topics that we talk about that you're very interested in as a fertility executive, as a practice owner, is vertical integration. We talk about the importance of vertical integration, and we give examples of how it's changing our field right now. We talk about the stress that patients face when they're not able to account for medication costs, what that does to them mentally and emotionally, but also what that does to the practice, how it's harmful to the practice's reputation and online rating, how it's harmful to practice's scheduling when someone has to cancel an IVF cycle start, and that negatively snowballs to impacting other patients. We talk about the medications that Bundle with Medications covers. It's all but two, one that's off-label and one for which there's another brand. Cheryl and Karol say that once a patient pays for medications up front with their Bundle program, I ask, well, what happens when the patient needs more, as often happens, and they tell me the patient gets those meds at no additional cost. Take a listen, because I try to dig out if there's any catch. The whole point of Bundle is to give patients peace of mind up front. We talk about taking something off of the plate of your staff so they're not getting phone calls about medication orders. Finally, we talk about a problem that both patients face and that you clinics face when patients can't afford treatment, and how Bundle works with lenders to help them afford treatment, but also to help them hone in on that one number, that all-in number. I know none of you fertility clinics want to treat your patients like you're a damn car dealership. You know how car dealerships are. Oh, this is the vehicle price, but then there's this fee and that fee and the other. No, you just want the out-the-door price. And your patients want to know what that one all-in number is too. Outside of a company standpoint, it's also fun for me to hear the passion in Karol and Cheryl's voice, and I give them a compliment at the end that costs me nothing to say. Enjoy this feature-sponsored episode about Bundle with Medications with Cheryl Campbell and Karol Bonilla. Ms. Bonilla, Karol, welcome to Inside Reproductive Health. Ms. Campbell, Cheryl, welcome back to Inside Reproductive Health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the reasons for interest in this topic for me was when I first started working in the fertility field or with the fertility field. It was when I was coming in as a generalist marketer, didn't know anything about the fertility field. One of the things that I did was I emailed every peer support group leader in America off of Resolve's list. That's how I got to know Resolve, because they emailed me and they're like, who are you? And I emailed every peer support group leader and I said, hey, I'm some guy with no medical or scientific background that doesn't know anything about your problem, that's thinking about starting a business here. I just want to know what you're finding to be the biggest pain points as you're starting your journey. Would you be willing to talk to me? And I was amazed by how many of them said, yeah, we'll talk to you and we'll just share what's going on. And there were three resounding patterns of confusion as people were starting their journey. One was about success rates. The second was about communication, getting communication back that people were really frustrated with. And the third one had to do with cost, and specifically about cost. They weren't just complaining about high costs or not being able to afford it. They were really talking about cost confusion, having no idea how much their treatment was going to cost. And a big part of it was that medications aren't included with a quoted cycle price. They could be this huge range and variability. And that was in 2014, 2015. And the status quo had pretty much remained in place for a long time. Now something different is happening, and I want to talk about what that is. But first, I want to talk about, can you talk about why this is such a pain in the neck for patients when when they're not able to account for medication costs or know even what they'll be?
I can take a little bit of that. I think what we hear from patients is that once they wrap their head around what their IVF treatment will be and what that journey might look like, and have a basic idea of the services that they will have to go through, and their likelihood of success, that's one massive nut itself. And then all of a sudden you've got this meds piece, which again, as you alluded to, can vary so greatly across a range. And no meds means no start, right? So if you can't even reach the mountaintop on the meds part, you're delaying this dream of even starting this journey, which again is daunting, but you're not going to be able to start. There's a breakdown as such at your practice. Your schedules are off. The practice's schedules are off. The doctor can't start you when he's looking at your clinical and saying, you really need to start. You're in that bucket of, we've got to get you moving into this journey, but you're just stuck on this dot of not being able to get the meds. And I think that's the most heartbreaking part of not having made enough strides on this med piece, is really that patients are stalled and can't get moving.
And so you're ready to go for treatment. You've accepted it. You talk with your partner about it, and then I can only imagine what that's like to then not be able to start a cycle. How common is this? Are you hearing this from a lot of people?
We hear it from a lot of people. Yeah. I think, when we talk about even just going through the pieces and parts of our multi-cycle program, the next question always, I'd say 90% of the time is, what can you do to help me with meds? I've heard that this meds piece is what's going to, really have me down a rabbit hole. And what kind of help can you give me? What kind of tips? What kind of due diligence do I need to do? You look, the majority of the time clinics are very helpful. Practices want to work with patients, but they really get stuck on that. And so we offer a lot of counsel as much as we're able to sort of help guide them in that direction, but we hear it a lot.
You talked a little bit about the impact that has on practices, because they've got schedules in place. They might have a certain number of people that they can cycle, and then it's messing up the clinic schedule. It's messing up the lab schedule, and that impacts the clinic. It impacts other patients because maybe somebody else could have had that spot and it's a last minute cancellation. Right. Or can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, starts are important. Practices batch starts. They want patients to be in a certain flow. A doctor, like I said, I'm not a physician, but I'm imagining they're looking at the sort of scope of a patient and what's going on with them and what their clinical diagnoses are. And, maybe their ovarian reserve is already low, and now you're going to miss 6 months, maybe 9 months, because the patient's basically trying to make that, payment and get to that point with that meds piece. So I think it just throws off the whole rhythm of how an REI wants to help treat that patient. And I think, yes, even as a part of the larger scale of the practice, cancellations and setting people back. And like you say, maybe somebody else could have started and it's throwing that rhythm off. So I think it can, I'm not saying it's going to drive a massive rift, but I think that it can throw off that relationship as such. There's nothing worse you want to hear than, okay, well, let's see how we do next month. We can't start you this month, but, we'll try to get you on the schedule for next month. I think that just is a whole breakdown in the relationship when that has to happen.
I would actually like to add to that, as far as the emotional heartbreak for that patient. is that, just to echo back what Cheryl is saying, maybe you don't have extra 2 months. You can't. So then, that dream of having your family, it's not going to happen, not at least in this route. Because the one thing that for a patient is, can I do treatment? That's the first milestone. Now, can I afford treatment because of insurance? That's the second milestone. And then is my insurance going to cover these medications? That is the final one, and if they don't, it will be a matter of a few $1,000s. And even though it doesn't sound significant, it's very impactful, and, they can't start. So it's heartbreaking.
I also want to say that it really can impact the relationship, because very often when we do reputation management for fertility clinics, one of the things that we're seeing has to do with rescheduling or not being able to schedule, or something gets thrown off. And I was looking at a fertility clinic's reputation yesterday that we're starting to advise on, and most of their reviews were overwhelmingly positive, and a couple were things like, this had to be rescheduled. And so they hadn't even either been in some cases, and in other cases they were talking about it wasn't new patient consults. They were talking about later on in treatment. Who knows? That might have been associated with something like medications, but it does impact the patient relationship. It impacts that patient's relationship with the clinic, but then it also impacts everyone else's, because that patient is going online and talking about having a negative experience. And it's something that it has been out of the practice's control, or at least up until recently. So now there's this medication piece that BUNDL is offering, BUNDL with medications. We talked about the reasons that there's a need for it with patients and practices, but tell me more about what motivated you all to know that this is something that we can solve.
Well, I think from having started BUNDL, knowing that the goal of that was to help alleviate that financial tension, that financial stressor, right? By meeting patients more and more where they are in their journey, and being able to take all those little pieces and parts and put them into one place for a patient, and help them kind of get their start going, and not worry about the financial aspects of it, and focus on the treatment. So the meds piece seemed like the next logical avenue on that front. And because BUNDL and InspireRx are a part of the same team, that the relationship just seemed like it was a no-brainer, right? This would be a simple way for us to combine our forces and take our multi-cycle and layer in the meds, and do it at a price point that will be very desirable for patients. And the price is really important. I think we're doing that well, but I really think that I always say this to my team, never underestimate just when you're able to put one more thing in our bucket to help the patient and take it out of the strain of the patient. That's such a win for them. So I think it's just another way of saying, we'll handle it. Our teams are going to take care of it. You don't need to worry about it. And, that's really the genesis of it. And we find that, it's landing really well with our patients.
Karol, tell me more about how BUNDL partners with InspireRx.
Well, we are under the same umbrella through inception. So we're pretty much family. So InspireRx pretty much is our pharmacy benefits platform. We have a group of filling pharmacies. We're there to provide those patients with discounts through reputable filling pharmacies. So right now, our connection between BUNDL and InspireRx is to fill that gap. You got the treatment. Now you're going to have the medications. Now those patients, thankfully, don't have to, and I hate to use this word, shop for medication pricing. That's done. It's done through this partnership. So that, voyage of going into that could be kind of dark, because patients could get a lot of misinformation, or even, going to these message boards and saying, you know what, maybe I could get medications abroad. That's not safe. So all that, those unknowns are out of the way thanks to this partnership.
You mentioned a partnership with a multitude of pharmacies. I know some pharmacies serve some states, but not others. You've got multiple pharmacies. Are there any states that that you're not able to cover with this
We
partnership?
are covered. We're covered nationwide.
So then it starts to come together because you've got the financing piece with Bundle. It's the logical next step. You also have a sister company in InspireRx that has all these pharmacy partnerships. And then tell me, how does it actually start to get built?
As far as the process, how the process goes?
Yeah, of making, it would be even before we get to the process for patients, but just like how did you end up bringing this to market and say, okay, we've got the need, we've got the finance piece, we've got the pharma piece. Tell me about how you brought them all together.
I think it was, I don't even think it was too much to bring them together, to be honest. I think because InspireRx was such a strong line of business as well as Bundle, I think it was just a question of how do we find between the teams what the best working situation was. We marketed it during National Fertility Awareness Week, which was fantastic. Big launch then. And I think it just, we just kind of put the word out and said, hey, this is just another addition. This is an add-on to your existing bundle conversation. You don't have to partake in it, but we really, want the community to know that we're listening, we're hearing, we want to meet them where they are. So we have this additional add-on. And, we did a lot of push out into our practices, making sure doctors know that they're able to talk about it. And it now is a part of, our offerings. So I think because our two lines of business are so strong and in what we do, the crossover of, hey, you do this, I do this, we come together. Yeah, it's really been very, very simple. And I think it's the strength of our relationships to Karol. Like Karol said, very strong relationships with the pharmacies, very good up and running relationships with our practices. And I think it made it a simple transition.
Correct. It just made sense. If there's that need, we can fill that gap. So.
An overnight success, X years in the making, right? An overnight success, several years in the making.
All for our patients. So
I'm asking you to speculate a little bit, and it's related in what you talked about. The reason why it was able to move so quickly with Bundle with medications is because you spent so long building and making Bundle successful as a financial platform, spent so long working on InspireRx to make them successful as a pharmaceutical partnership platform. And so that made the Bundle with medications seem like an overnight success. But I still feel like, why did nobody do this sooner? I know I'm asking you to speculate, but why do you think nobody's been able to pull this off yet?
That's, I guess, not wanting to put the work in, not having the dynamic in the relationships we have, not wanting to take on risk. I'm not sure. I mean, it is a good question. I think it's the same way that people say, oh, we have a multi-cycle at our practice, or, oh, we do something like that. And it's not the same. It really takes and requires, first of all, buy-in from our larger parent company of Inception, who's made such a solid and amazing investment in our lines of business and the resources that we are able to have through, our talent and our marketing departments, our, just everybody's buy-in, knowing that this is such an important thing for our patients. I just think it's, investing that and taking the time to build on it and taking the leaps and kind of going after it. I think people dabble in what we're sort of saying we're doing, and they want it on offer because, of course, every practice wants to have as much on offer as they can. But it really does take a sort of solid foundation of people that kind of understand these streams of business to do this work. And I think that's the leap that we're taking as a company.
Yeah, and I actually want to add to that, because why no one has done it before is because it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task to have, it's sometimes maybe there could be a set of treatments, but this is patient focused. What is the patient needing as far as treatment? What is the patient needing as far as medications? Because if you want to do something like this, there's so many different variables to get them all together to gel for the benefit of the patient and the clinic. It's not easy, but fortunately enough, we're under the same umbrella where we can do this for the patient. That is not an easy task.
The vertical integration piece is really something that you're starting to see different companies trying to get ahead of, and yours is one of the earlier ones. And these are the reasons why, is because there's so many points on the patient journey, and that if you want to positively impact them, you're gonna have to pull from different areas. So now let's start from the patient journey. I'm a patient. I've done my initial consult. I've even done some of my testing, and the physician has recommended an IVF cycle to me, and now I am walking down the hall to the financial counselor. Doctor tells us, okay, here's the treatment plan that you need, and you're going to talk with Rick and Sally, our financial counselors, and they're going to tell you, give you some options of how you're going to pay for this. How now where do I go from here?
Right. So the way that we have the process set up at our practices, it's at that FC consult that they would be talking about bundle as an option in your journey. So whether the doctor's tasked out that this is a good multi-cycle patient, or even if it's a cash pay patient, they get the entire suite of options for them, and bundle would be included. So the lead generation or the referral will come over the same way from a clinic, or again, people might see us on our webpage. People might call in because they heard about us from a fertility Facebook group. Either way, they're going to learn about bundle, and in that time, they're also going to learn that they've got this additional add-on layer of the medication. So it's really at the top of that conversation that we have all day long with patients, however they move into bundle, that we're going to talk to them about the medication option, and the very simple, straightforward way that if they, for X amount of dollars, they can layer in their meds, we will take care of the flow. We will organize with the pharmacy. And then my team just coordinates with Inspire to say, hey, this is going to be a meds patient, and it just kind of falls under the bundle meds title, and we're kind of off. And we will literally do the heavy lifting to make sure those meds are in the patient's hands when they need to be. And the other really beautiful thing, and this might speak to why people maybe don't do this, we're going to move with whatever. We know this journey isn't linear all the time, right? There's twists, there's turns, especially with meds. You need more, you need less, you're not stimming well, you need a different med. We're trying to go off of a very basic standard med protocol, which is pretty robust, I would say. There's very few exceptions to what we're going to put under our meds program. And we're going to get you what you need when you need it. Mm-hmm. So in the 11th hour, if you need more follow-stim, we're going to have it for you. No questions asked. And I don't think I'm not sure many people trying to do something similar to this would be in that same, would be thinking operationally like that. Mm-hmm. So I think we don't want to tie in REI's hands, and we don't want to hold back on any treatment with a patient. So we're still in our infancy with the program, but right now we believe we're going to get the patients what they want when they need it. And, that's a win back to the patient and to the respect and reputation of the program.
And so when the patient is having their prescription refilled, are they going through the bundle platform through the partner pharmacies? Are they ordering through the partner pharmacies, and the partner pharmacies are sending the invoice to bundle? How does that work?
No, really, the flow on a regular bundle program is that my team will handle it once the patient is enrolled, and that could be either with or without meds. But once that happens, the work then becomes between my team and the clinical team. So we go back and forth authorizing cycles, and when cycles are authorized, we will authorize with the clinical teams to say, put the meds, this patient's pharmacy med piece, put that through bundle. They will do that work. So really, essentially, the patient's out of it at that point. They'll just see the meds show up on their door. If the doctor then says, listen, you need more follow-stim, the clinical team will say, okay, this is a meds patient for bundle. So we're going to put that under the bundle. And that flow, really, for the most part. Now, we know patients get nervous, and they oftentimes will stay involved and say, my doctor said I needed more. And we'll say, we know, we saw that. Don't worry. It's fine. They can still have that communication with us, and we will assure them that we've got it. We see it. We're taking care of it. And it really just goes back and forth like that until the patient either finds success or moves through the rest of their benefits.
So even though I've had a couple of conversations with you all prior to this about how this works, it might be even easier than I thought it was. So it sounds like, the clinical team is ordering the meds from the partner pharmacy, and they're just billing
Mm-hmm.
it through bundle because that's
Yep.
already associated with, so the patient doesn't have to call the pharmacy,
Yeah.
get a subscription filled,
Nope.
a prescription filled, excuse me. Okay, it's even
Yeah.
easier than, even though you've explained it to me
Right.
before. It's even easier through the pay. I mean, gosh, that seems like almost as much of a benefit as the financial piece.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Because, and actually, just to add to that, usually when it goes to the pharmacy, then maybe the pharmacy doesn't contact within 48 or 72 hours. That could bring more anxiety to the patient. So, because we have we have those pieces together, we have relationships, that patient gets contacted within 24 hours for sure. And the patient doesn't have to worry anymore. So it is very easy for the patient and for our clinicians as well.
And so what you're talking about, Cheryl, with if they need more Follistim, if they need more of something, we're gonna take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's preventing any latent hidden bills, right? Because that's already included with their bundle package. So again, I'm coming at this from a reputation management standpoint. One of the biggest red areas in online reviews is just a late bill. It doesn't matter if it's a $275 ultrasound bill, or if it's a medication bill. When it comes just a little bit later, and maybe this is something, okay, we've planned for this. I kind of had an idea what these medication costs were. I didn't realize that the doc had, ordered when he ordered the extra Follistim, that was going to end up on my bill later, and it's a few $100s more, sometimes thousands of dollars more.
Right.
That drives people crazy, especially if they're still in the journey, and especially even worse though if they do have a failed cycle, and then that bill trickles in. It's like a dagger to the side.
Exactly. The psychology of that is so difficult. And so that's what we're avoiding. And this is what we do even on the bundle piece too, right? It's so upfront. You so know what you're getting from the minute that it happens, that there isn't going to be that shocker of, the late bill. And I think that's that's absolutely what we're trying to avoid here. And I think that, patients will realize that, and patients will understand that there isn't going to be and people say this to us all the time, when we talk about bundle and we say we cover unlimited FETs, people are like, okay, so you do 2. We're like, no, if you get 4, you get 4. If you get 10, you get 10. I think there's always, so you say I can have whatever meds I want. So, but you're going to cap me at a certain, and we really, again, we want we want people to understand that we say what we mean and we mean what we say. And that is that we never want you to stop or halt or feel in any way that you're being nickeled and dimed, or that there's anything that's going to stop the process. So we really stand behind that. And these late, there will be no late bill. There will be nothing that will come through that will, blindside any patients.
You said that there are very notable, or there's very, very limited exception. Are there any, what medications specifically are included and what aren't? Okay. Is there any worth noting?
Sure.
The what's included list is a lot longer, but are there any things worth noting on either side?
Sure. I can mention there's only 2 exceptions. There's a medication called Omnitrope that can be prescribed. It's an off-label medication, so that's not included in the bundle with meds. And then there's a medication called GonerF, but we have a comparable brand to that that's also reputable called Follistim. So in essence, it's just one item, and then whatever the doctor deems necessary to prescribe for your treatment, that's covered. And so are the refills as well, as Cheryl mentioned.
Everything other than those 2?
Yes, sir. We want to make it easy.
So tell me about which clinics are eligible for bundle with meds.
So any clinics that partner with Bundle will get the option to work with our meds piece of it. So, we are within the inception clinics, we've got that all, pretty much going. But Bundle this year is in a major national march to sort of try to partner with as many clinics as we can, and that is in any pocket of the country and all over the geography. And we want to try to be wherever we hear patients need us. And so the minute that a clinic talks to Bundle and wants to partner, we absolutely make it a point of talking about the fact that we've got this meds piece. And for some new business currently, as we're talking to people, that's the kicker. That's what's thrilling them at this point, is that they're going to be able to have this medication offering. And thanks to Karol and her rock star relationship with the pharmacy, she's able to identify, okay, within that market, let's sort out all the pharmacy piece for this practice. So if it's in Iowa, and she can say, okay, well, in Iowa, we've got, and Karol, you can speak more to this, but it's really nothing to operationalize and get that practice on the meds side of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, talking to their team. It's just, one other layer on the onboarding side of things with practices, but everybody will have the option
Right.
when they partner with
because
Bundle.
as I mentioned, we have coverage nationwide. We have a nice group of filling pharmacies. So wherever that clinic is located outside of, of our network, we could provide services for as far as getting that patient that medication. It could either be picked up locally or shipped overnight. So we have coverage for any clinic anywhere in the U.S.
So if I'm in a market where Bundle isn't yet, so maybe Bundle doesn't have a clinic partner in Smithtown, USA, can I become a Bundle partner? Do I have to be an Inception family clinic, like a Prelude clinic, in order to be partner with Bundle?
No, you can just reach out to Bundle and we will talk to you about joining our family. And it's very simple. We'll talk about the program itself and how it will fit your practice. And, we have a couple financial discussions, and we can get you up and running and have an agreement over to you and start you tomorrow. And if that's largely driven off the fact that you want to offer this meds piece to patients, that's great. But again, you can offer the entire bundle. Part of it you can offer, we've got our refund back program. We've got the entire suite of offerings, and any practice can be a part of the Bundle network. And we would love it, because we're looking to really expand, because we talk to patients all the time in areas that unfortunately we don't have a presence yet, or maybe a patient just really isn't willing to travel to. So we really, really are hoping that something like the Meds Piece 2 will entice practices to bring a multi-cycle into their world, which is really what we want to be, just that multi-cycle option at as many clinics as we can be in.
Does that also include academic REI centers or health systems? Like, I'm thinking there's large parts of the country where there isn't even like a private clinic. There might be one REI that works in a division of a larger health system for some states, especially like in the interior West and stuff. But even then, I mean, there might also be other markets where the biggest clinic, or sometimes the only clinic group in town, is in a university system. Can they still partner with Bundle?
They can, and it's interesting you say that. We have approached some university systems. Most of the time, I think it's on their end how they want to do it. It does. There's nothing on the Bundle side that we won't partner with you, but I think it's really more the guidelines of what the university system may dictate as far as bringing the multi-cycle in. But we have no restriction on that, and we would love that, because I know in some areas that's kind of who you've got, right? I mean, and we would love to be able to serve an area, even if it's within the university system. But I think it's really more on what their guidelines are to that. But we'd love to still talk about it.
So there's the bundling of the medication costs, and you're having the ability to save patients money. It sounds like, so there's the convenience piece, there's the predictability piece, but it sounds like you might even be saving patients money with the discounts. Can you tell me about how that works, Karol?
Well, due to our relationships with our partners and our pharmacy partners, that there is already a discount price set for all the medications. So the patient doesn't have to worry about, how much is this, how much is that. All that is already taken care of, if that answers your question.
So then, are there any additional benefits or incentives provided, like the personalized support? You talked about, Karol, that sometimes people will call you and they'll ask for they'll still want to know what's going on with their medication, even though it's come through the clinical team. Is there any kind of personalized support that patients can get when they're working with Bundle?
Well, I think with Bundle, Cheryl could answer to that. But as far as the support that the patients will get when they get the bundle with meds, because bundle could be just treatment or bundle with meds, right? So if you're utilizing bundle with meds, you also get the added support from the filling pharmacy. They have also nurses, so they could do also medication teaching. So it's an added support to the clinician. And as we mentioned, in and out of network. So any clinic that actually wants to utilize Bundle and they have that partnership with Bundle could take advantage of that. Our filling pharmacy support, which I think is very helpful, because right now in our day-to-day, with so much that's going on, with Mother Nature, a lot of clinicians don't have enough staff. So the added support is so beneficial for both the patient and the clinic.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said that with Bundle, one of the things that we pride ourselves on and feel very good about is that we know these clinics are busy. Bundle is a small part of their day, but it's huge for our patients that they're getting a dedicated team to really help them with their questions, to get into, clinics are busy, so maybe getting to the front desk, getting that question answered isn't easy. When they've got the Bundle team as a part of their enrollment, and now they've got the meds team, really, because even if there is an issue or a question, my team will work directly with Karol and InspireRx, and even has a line into the to the pharmacies, just to say, so-and-so has a question, they're not really sure how to elevate it. Like, it's just that getting people where they need to be. And we know, and as an ex-patient myself, it's that frustration where you feel, where do I turn? But so the more, again, it comes back to what I said at the top, the more you're able to pull all these pieces and parts in, where a patient can now say, oh, I've got Bundle and I've got meds. Oh, I can talk to Bundle. I'm going to talk to Bundle about I have a million questions, but I can now talk to Bundle. I don't have to talk to my pharmacy, talk to my doctor, and then they can just focus on really the clinical piece of it. But I think that it's trying to, we talk to so many patients that really are sort of most of the time in their journey just saying, who do I talk to about all this stuff? And I think having these dedicated teams, and another reason why we're doing this, and we're doing it well, because we know we're teams dedicated to getting this done for patients.
I talked about the reputation management side, where it's the client, where it's the patient voicing their frustration if and when they don't get that communication, and that happens all the time. But then we're also on the other side, where we listen to fertility clinics' phone calls and we track their call volume. We look at what the wait time is. We look at how many calls go to voicemail, how many calls hang up before that they're answered because they're on the phone tree. And it's always a problem, and very often it's a problem because there's a limited staff on the call center team, or many fertility centers don't even have a call center. They have the front desk folks, and
after
they're
hours,
doing a number of different things, and they can't get to enough new patients, or they can't get to existing, because people are calling back for things. And this is one of the areas that people are calling for information for. And if they can call you instead of the clinic, that's one less thing that the clinic has to have tying up their whole phone tree and their whole process, which drives the patient crazy. But it's also really hard for the front desk team and the clinical team. So Cheryl, I'm just curious, because you were a patient and you've spent so much time working with patients on a customer service side. Nowadays, how much of your time are you interacting with quote unquote customers, but patients versus how much time you managing and the other folks that do that. How often are you working with patients nowadays?
Yeah, not as much. I wish more. I'll be honest, since I transitioned from sort of having helped stand up bundle from the operational side and now moving into the director side, I don't get to talk to patients. But every now and then, because our programs are 3 years long and we started in 2020, most of our patients that I started out with earlier are kind of still cycling in one way or another, or many of them. So I love when they come back, and many do, just to sort of say, I have a question. And I remember I talked to Cheryl a year ago and I'd love to talk to her. So I love that. And then now, and if I can just say this, a lot of patients are finding success. And so we hear about pregnancies and we hear about, the babies that are our bundle babies that are being delivered. And that is super exciting. So I love to hear that, because that's a real full circle moment for me, having been part of the very beginning of the program. But I think I'm spending the larger majority of my time managing and kind of getting everybody down the lanes that they need, and making sure that my team is feeling well resourced and informed, because they have a lot throwing at them every now and then. Like, we do little changes to bundle, and then we bring the meds piece in, and then so that's been a lot. It's been a lot of changes. But and then we've got a whole network, and we always say we never are done. So even when you partner with us, and even like our own family clinics, Inception clinics, right, of which there are many, and we've had very long-standing relationships, there's always a tweak. There's always a process look. There's always something that might break down, or patient, or will, maybe a doctor isn't feeling as good about it at one point or another, or they're hearing something from a patient. So we're always in process improvement and what can we do mode. So it's never sort of, you're in bundle and now, good, you're done, you're onboarded, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of the piece of keeping, all of this moving. And this is what we're going to find with this program as well, right? We're sort of early days, but like we do with all of it, and I'm sure Karol does it on her piece as well, you're just always looking for, how can we do better? How can we improve? Maybe we get rid of something that just isn't working and people don't feel good about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's coming from clinicians, it's coming from doctors, it's coming from our patients, it's coming from our executive team and our marketing, and it's all a buy-in. So there's always a lot to do, because we're sort of still a little startup. We're sort of still the baby of the family in the Inception world bundle. But we're making major strides though, and this is just another way of doing it.
Do you feel like, were you on when you started to launch bundle with meds, did you get to be on any of those calls with patients, or when you started to tell patients, this is something we can offer you now? Tell me about that. I'm interested in their reaction when it first, because you had the splash at National Infertility Awareness Week, and then
right.
So this is something that they haven't ever been able to get before. You're now managing the people that are helping them in many cases, but did you get to be privy to any of those reactions?
I got a few of them, but most of it is feedback from my advocates that are talking with patients. And I think the overriding comment kind of was like, "Oh, finally, that's great. Thank goodness." Or, "Oh gosh, I'm scrambling to start. Can I still get into the med side of it?" Like people are sort of like, "Wait a minute, this is changing my whole mindset. Wait, I want to do meds with you." So we sort of have, that's another thing. We've done things, we move very quickly. And thanks to Karol's team as well, we can move a patient very fast, even if they've only just found out about meds and they're just ready to start. We can get it done quickly, because we know meds need to get ordered and get to a patient, but we can move fast. So I think there was a general sense of, oh, this is great. Now, there's always the patients that want to take a beat and say, okay, I understand what you're saying. I want to layer this in, but I might need a little bit more time, because now this is an extra bit of money on top. And okay, so it's paused some people to kind of really consider it. One thing that it's really benefited from, which we've heard from patients, especially when patients need loans, and we work with the top fertility lenders, right? Some of the pain point for a patient is what we alluded to before, that unknown, oh, am I going to get slammed with this cost and that cost? When you have one bite at the apple to get your loan, and especially if patients maybe have never had an experience of having to take out a loan, or certainly something this large, you want to be all in on what that number is, right? Because if you're going to have one shot to go through all the due diligence of getting a loan, you want to know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're blindsided by that extra 5, that extra 10, when you know upfront, here's my program fee, here's what I'm going to owe on my meds, here's maybe the little bit that I might owe to my clinic, I'm all in, I'm going to go for that number, and I'm going to see what I can get. That is helping with the lending conversation. And I think that now also, even though our lenders multi-disperse, really helpful that they can now bring the whole piece over to bundle and just say, right, all in on the program and the medication. Here's your patient's financial piece of it. And it's done. And a patient,
Huge relief.
because it's another layer. Yeah, it's another layer of chasing up the loan. And where does this piece go? And where did that? This is now another way that we've consolidated and helped not only the patient, but, even with our relationships with our lenders, it's increased that flow a little bit better as well.
It sucks that patients have to take out a loan like this. That
I know.
it's almost like another little mortgage. It could be a big car loan. It sucks that
Yes.
has to happen, but it forces me to, in some sense, compare it to a mortgage. And if when you get a mortgage, you're also factoring in the closing costs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's not just what this person has listed the house for. It's also all of the other closing costs
Right.
that go into purchasing the house. And it's like you get a home inspection, so you want to know if there's something that is going to be immediate. Like if I'm buying a $400,000 house and I know that there's repairs to the furnace that are necessary. It's like that's your medications. Like
Yeah.
okay, I know that the house isn't just $400,000, and that because I know that I'm buying it where it's going to require these repairs to the furnace or to the plumbing or the electric, and that's what I have to plan for in the total. So I mean, I've always thought when I think of bundle is like, okay, it's planning for that, but that impacts the loan too.
Yes.
What you're
Right.
taking out for the loan. So do people are people and we touched on this a bit when you were on before, Cheryl, we were talking about bundle, but do patients interface with the loan companies on their own and then get support through bundle, or it's all through bundle and bundles dealing with the loan companies?
I think what we have managed to do is bring patients right up to that juncture where they're ready to talk to that loan representative, because at that point, they have to provide the personal information and they have to kind of do that piece of it. But we are with them right up. And again, like I said, we have a lot of patients they've never gone through a loan process before, getting bank statements and, so we lead them right up to that point. And our lenders are so good. And gosh, lending, I mean, I think back, like I said, even on my own journey, like I don't even know if anybody knew what a fertility lending piece looked like, but it's so wonderful the way that lenders are aware of this isn't, you're not taking out money for a car or a condo, right? They know how stressed and difficult this is at the point at which they're talking to these patients. So our lenders are so wonderful with the way and the offerings that they have. A lot of lenders even offer, special little help for patients, like if they need to know how to do a trigger shot or how to, that's just a plug for our lenders because they're listening too, right? And they're trying to meet patients where they are because it's a kind of daunting process. Bundle will help you get right up to the point where you're talking to that lender, and then they do their due diligence with the lender, get the okay for the loan, and then we pick up from there. We get the funding in, we work out all the payment, and then of course, and I want to make sure that this is understood, we have a refund back program, right? So with Bundle, if you qualify, just like under our regular bundle program, and you go through all the program and you don't take a baby home, you get 100% of your money back. That's our bundle guard, 100% money back. Now with meds, if you buy meds on top of that program and you do not, again, you're not seeing success in that program after all your services, you're going to get 100% of your meds money back as well. So our guarantee that we have built with this program is going to extend into the meds piece. So that is really huge for patients. And I think that they've got even more peace of mind, even with the meds in there. We're going to give 100% of that back. So that's It's another
I
factor.
want to make sure that I understand that. So those that qualify for
Yep,
bundle
there is some
guard, they get
yep,
100% back. And if they do the meds piece and they qualify for bundle guard, that's gonna they're also going to get the med
right.
cost back. It's not like, oh, I can qualify for bundle guard over here but maybe
Nope.
not
If
qualify for the
you've
bundle meds piece.
No, if you've added the meds onto your bundle guard and you've gone through all your services without taking a baby home, that meds piece is a part of that 100% back. So it's the full amount back to you. So that is even a bigger peace of mind for patients, I
Right.
think, as they enter
And
into the bundle
and that
guard.
actually answers your previous question, Griffin. Why no one has done this? This is why. No one's going to do that. No one.
It's the risk,
Yes.
right? There's
Even
risk
the
involved in
meds,
it, but
that is unheard of. So that's why no one can do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty big logistical
Yes.
hill to climb. Karol, how do you get how do you this is maybe a little bit more Inspire than bundle, but because we're talking about the meds piece, it's relevant to how it comes back to the patients in the clinics. How do you interface with the pharmacies in such a way where you can make sure that, okay, everything except for Gonal-F and Omnitrope, we're going to get it for you. We're going to get it for you on time. That's a big logistical lift, and you've got more than one partner, so that's probably what helps is you got multiple partners.
Right.
But how does that pharmacy logistics work?
Well, it's having conversations with each and every one about our new offering and them being able to say, yes, we want to be part of this. They're part of our network as InspireRx, our InspireRx network of filling pharmacies. So they know what this means overall. So getting them on board was an easy task, but of course, there's a conversation with each one. And there was really not much questions asked. It's just what is necessary, and we're going to get it done because we have that partnership. So it wasn't a difficult task in that end because of our partnerships.
How many pharmacies are partners with InspireRx?
Currently, we have 7 filling pharmacies.
And are all 7 InspireRx partners?
Yes.
Part of the bundle with meds?
Yes, sir. All of them. All of them.
Okay, so that they've all come over. Cheryl, when you said that the programs last for they're 3 years, so that is if they add on bundle with meds in the beginning, that's for the 3-year duration as well.
Yes.
There's not like the meds piece lasts for a time.
No, it's going to be covered over it's going, but again, time, knowing that majority of patients will probably finish their programs within, 10, 11 months. That's really our average, but you never know. Life takes over. Maybe a patient does a cycle and they need a break or something happens in life. Maybe there's a personal reason, a surgery. If they are putting that off and then they're going to revisit, let's say cycle 2, but they've bought meds, those meds are going to be available when they're ready to pick up on the next time they go into service. So I'm glad that you asked that question because I think that people may think, oh gosh, I know the program's 36 months, but there must be a cap on meds. Mm-hmm. And we're saying no, because again, even if you take that break and then you pick up 8, 9, 10 months later, that meds is going to, the doctor will tell you what your meds is going to be and we'll put it through and that's it. Right. That's fine.
Life happens. So that's part of it.
It's that's the whole point of bundle. It seems like to me, like it keeps coming. I like the discounts are important and they're meaningful, and I get how you're saving people money, but it seems to me like just that the peace of mind. Maybe that's just me. Maybe some other people would prioritize the discounts higher, and the peace of mind is the benefit. Whereas I just see like it takes out so much of the worry, and it's like this is what it's going to be. I've got 3 years to do this, so that not if life happened, when life happens at some other point. Correct. All of these contingencies are accounted for. Now, I'm not asking either of you to show the cards too much, but I just every time I talk to you all, I could see, okay, something else is coming from Bundle, because this is kind of the ethos of Bundle. It's our job is to streamline all of these financial hiccups for patients, make it easier for them to pay for it, make it easier for them to know what to pay for. You know, when I first talked with you, I didn't even ask about medications, and I could just see that it's not just about the services that Bundle's providing now, but kind of being committed to this ethos of this is what our vertical is. It's reducing this variability for patients and giving them predictability. So I feel like you've got more in your roadmap, and you don't have to share any secret sauce, but can you kind of just tell us what you're paying attention to in patients' needs that are going to have to be solved for someday?
That's a good one. Because I think in the immediate, my whole feeling is that what brings me down or bums me out is when I can't get to a patient that needs me in a market that I'm just not there, right? And they are just so elated over the thought of Bundle and what they need. Because look, I mean, I think the percentages still aren't getting great with one cycle success. So multi-cycle, and again, we're a cash pay program, and, we can even do programs for minimally insured, and we are, insurance is getting a little better, but it's still, not 100% there. And, I always say this, like, this is a juncture in the year where people have maxed out on fertility benefits. This is a time where we talk to a lot of patients because they don't have any more coverage. Now they need a bundle, and they're not, and time is ticking, right? They're still at that 36, 37, 38. Nobody wants to hear, oh, you are running out of time when you're 36. But that's the reality, is that this journey just doesn't stop. So, I just feel like my biggest immediate focus is how can we continue to help people in places that we are not. But we are always listening to our patients and trying to hear about the what's next and what else would you like. And I can't really say for sure what that next top thing is, but we're going to be there when we know it, and we're going to always keep our ear to the ground. And I think we're off to an amazing start with what we're doing with Bundle, our relationships are with our partners. Like I said, the resources that come out of inception for us, there is a real focus because we believe in what we're doing. And I think it's really helping patients at a really difficult time.
Well, I hope that geographical expansion does come from the patients that are really asking for it in other areas.
Yes.
And it stinks that they have to, and I'm not comparing Bundle to Uber, but I just remember how Uber started in the Bay Area, and then they went to a couple major cities, and then they went to smaller cities. Well, for whatever reason, New York State was the last place to get Uber, except they made a little deal with New York City that New York City could get it earlier, and it was some like convoluted political thing, but it ended up becoming a point where it's like the people in the cities of upstate New York, Buffalo, Rochester, were like, why don't we have this? Like, why is that anywhere else that I go, I can have this privilege, and then I come back and I don't get to have it. And it goes from being, a nice to have to a must have. And when you start to see everybody, like, why do they get it over here and I don't? So I hope that that's part of what drives the geographical expansion. What haven't I asked you about Bundle with Meds that I should have, or how would you like to conclude with our audience?
I think you ask everything, because I think what's important is who can we service, who can join, who could take advantage. That was answered. Anyone can take advantage of this. You could get pretty much all you answer all the right questions, I think. So
yeah, there's no qualification per se. We just want it to be there as another option. I will say this, there's nothing harder than when patients, as much as being thrown at them in this, right? They want to know, they want options. They want to know that you think enough about the fact that you know they're going through something difficult, that you want to say, look, here's something that might help on the multi-cycle side with the financial piece. Here's a lender that we think might help you. Here's a grant program that we think. This is what we do at Bundle. We give the information so that everyone can make their most informed decision and put their fertility dollars where they know they need to go. Because, you know, some people have just that small pot and that one shot, and they want, because there is nothing worse than a patient saying, I never knew about you. I never knew about these options. And now I can't go back and get another loan, and I had a failed cycle. And I mean, that is the most heartbreaking part of it. We know that these are big numbers, right? We know it's expensive. We're still keeping an eye on the best that we can always do on that front. But I think that we can never assume that someone doesn't want to know a piece of information. Oh, you know, you're probably okay with one cycle. Maybe you don't need to know about the multi-cycle options. It's heartbreaking when people don't know. So I think the biggest thing is just making sure that patients are informed and have all the pieces and parts. And that comes everywhere from the doctor conversation straight through the FCs, then when they cut over to us, and then when they're in their mom groups, and then when, you know, we just want the word to be out there, that people should have a conversation and really get all their information before they move forward. And then, you know, see what happens.
And you know what, Griffin, I think there's something that I do want to add, just based on my experience in the fertility space, is that with Bundle and Bundle with Meds, we're most definitely patient focused, and you can see that through our actions with the type of offering that we have. So we're definitely patient focused. That's how I would like to end it with.
I'll end it with, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say they're patient focused, and there's varying degrees of what that is. And it would, like, when you're talking about, like, we're going to make it right for the patient. We're going to help them. You know, if they need more meds, we're going to get it for them. A lot of times people will say that, and then it's, except A, B, and C, and it's the long disclaimer. And I've never been in the Bundle office. I've never shadowed you both and stood over your desk. I've never been a patient going through this and have to. So, you know, I can't speak from the total global experience of it, but I can say, from getting to know both of you, from talking to your colleagues, some of whom have also been patients, that when I hear you say that, I really believe.
Yes, our actions.
I really believe what your commitment is from your team. So good on Inception leadership for letting you all have this autonomy and build this. And because, you know, again, I might not know from all of the other things, but I'm telling, like, I smell real. I know what not real smells like, and right now I'm smelling real, and I have every time that I've had you on, and I've gotten a chance to talk to you. So I look forward to having you on again, and thanks for coming back to this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Griffin. Appreciate it.
This episode was brought to you by Bundle. To learn more about the Bundle with Medications program and how they can optimize treatments for your practice and patients, please visit www.bundlefertility.com/medications-cost. That's BUNDL fertility.com/medications-cost. Today's episode is paid content from our feature sponsor, who helps Inside Reproductive Health to deliver information for free to you. Here, the advertiser has editorial control. Feature sponsorship is not an endorsement and does not necessarily reflect the views of Inside Reproductive Health. You've been listening to the Inside Reproductive Health podcast with Griffin Jones. If you are ready to take action to make sure that your practice thrives beyond the revolutionary changes that are happening in our field and in society, visit fertilitybridge.com to begin the first piece of the fertility marketing system, the goal and competitive diagnostic. Thank you for listening to Inside Reproductive Health.